Because of the school closings in response to COVID-19, families have to come up with a new roadmap for education. This also means a change of course for an organization that helps parents with school registration. To tell us about educational help for families is the executive director of Boston School Finder, Latoya Gayle. Thank you very much for being with us, Latoya.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Well, Latoya, you're also a parent, so what's it like having school come home?
It's interesting. I think it's been funny. Some of the kids, they get up at their regular time and then they'll do a little work. And then honestly, they'll start to slack off because I have 2 teenagers. And I'm like, hey, what are you doing? They're like, oh yeah, I was doing that. And so it's been more of a challenge with the older children to get them to stick to a routine, and that this is not just like school vacation. They have to get some things done. We've been lucky that we've had our children's schools reach out to us, and teachers are going to call and check on them. So they feel like they're still responsible for some things because somebody from school is checking on them. So we've been lucky in that sense.
Are there any concerns or complaints that you're hearing from parents?
I think the not knowing is a big complaint, and I think just parents really don't feel equipped to be homeschoolers per se, and trying to figure out because there's some parents who are working from home, so figuring out how do you balance working at home but still making sure your children are doing whatever work they've been assigned to do while they're at home too. So it's a really tough, delicate balance. Other parents have to work. And so it's one of those things like, what do you do if you have to work outside the home when the governor has ordered like daycares and after school providers be shut down? So it's a balance of people knowing when am I taking like a medical risk and when am I taking a financial risk. And it's a balance, and it's really hard.
What about the access to learning? Because I know there are some families, they're very wired on the internet. They know how to use all the apps and they have all the equipment, but some of them don't have that. So what about them?
Right. So BPS fortunately has they ordered extra Chromebooks. So every BPS student should have access to Chromebooks. You should get an email from your school. If you haven't, reach out to your child's actual school. There's a form which we posted on our website as well. You can fill out and somebody should contact you. So every BPS student should have access to a Chromebook. BPS is also putting together other resources to try to walk parents through how do you do this? I think it's something that schools are learning and families are learning. We're doing it all at the same time. So it's been a really interesting and tough week for a lot of people, I think.
Of course, another thing that occurs to me is that kids are different ways at different ages. When they're older, they can immerse themselves in a book or math problem. But with kids who are in the 1st or 2nd grade, they can be sweet for a while. Next thing you know, they're bouncing off the wall. I mean, how does a parent handle that? Right.
So I think remember that they're kids. Right? We've been really lucky. I want to give a shout out to my 4-year-old's teacher, Miss Powers. My husband said a comment the other day, Miss Powers is on it. She's been sending us so many resources and so many updates to try to help us keep something similar to the routine that they have in school. She sent us all the visuals that they do for their morning routine. She said today, even when it was raining, today is a rainy day. Here are some rainy day activities to do with the kids. And so, we've been lucky, and I know there are other teachers and other schools out there who are doing this, who are really trying to be a resource for, especially the little ones, because like you said, they're just like, what is going on? My 4-year-old keeps asking, is there school today? What is going on? But teachers have really been a resource. GBH has just put out a lot of resources for families that are educational. So they've put together some things, and we've listed this all on our website too, because another complaint we have is that there's so much information and people don't know where to get it from and what to access it. So we're trying to stick to our brand of putting all the information that's out there in one place for families. So we've put up some COVID-19 pages for families just to click through and access resources, whether it's things about school or whether it's things about employment or whether it's health things. We're not the expert on all of those things, but we're trying to point them in the direction of the people who are experts on it.
I know we normally talk wholesale about the Boston public schools, but the charter schools have a lot of information on their individual sites, don't they?
Yes, they do. So each charter school and even some of our private schools they're reaching out to their families. And something I really want to point out too is that, you know, every charter school that I've seen and every BPS school that I've seen, so our public sector, they're not going to turn any family away who comes to one of their sites for a breakfast or lunch. And so there's a lot of food out there. So I want to tell families, if you need breakfast or lunch, go to one of those sites. The public school sites, whether it's district or charter, are not going to turn you away. They're not going to say, hey, prove that your kid goes to this school. There's food there. We understand we're all in this together right now. So please go to one of those sites if you need breakfast or lunch.
I know the kids and the families need this food.
Yeah.
But people might also be worried, can we go out? Will there be a line?
Right, yeah. So far, there hasn't been lines. And there's a lot of sites. We put that on our website, too. You can also go to the city's website. The city has a text number, which I cannot remember right now, but it is on, if you go to bostonschoolfinder.org and you click on the city site, there's a number you can text. You can get text updates from the city. There's a lot of sites spread out over the city, so there have not been lines, but we also don't want it to be a resource that's wasted. And so if families need it, please go and get it.
I know one thing that must be piling up mentally for parents and even for kids in a way is that this is a chore. Why do we have to do this? And people just don't feel there's any value, maybe. Does that run through your mind sometimes, at least one half of it?
About doing the schoolwork or just being at home in general?
Just managing the children.
Yeah. You know what? I can see how it can feel that way, but we know we talk about summer learning loss a lot, and inevitably some of that is going to happen now in this what looks like a 6-week period. For families. So it's important that you keep learning and you keep exercising that brain muscle in this time when you're not in front of your teacher for direct instruction. I know that a lot of schools are also thinking about how do they instruct families or children remotely. And I think one good thing that can come from this is how do schools and education systems in general prepare for something like this in the future, and how do we actually utilize technology going forward in a way that is helpful for families?
I know you've done a lot of updating on your website just this week, but there'll be more to come. So, what should people look for to find that?
Right, if they go to bostonschoolfinder.org, right on our front page, you can click where we usually have our Finder countdown. It's COVID. You can click right on that, or you can scroll down to our tiles, and we have a COVID section. We're going to keep updating it.
Thank you very much for being with us. Latoya Gayle from Boston School Finder.
Thank you.
In a moment, we'll hear about efforts to help students affected by the shutdown of colleges and universities. But first, this message.